4-vote local federal candidates debate for the riding of Nipissing Timiskaming. My name is Clark Heipel. Today we have 3 of 4 major party candidates for the Nipissing Timiskaming riding. Conservative candidate Gary Keller, Liberal Party candidate Pauline Rochefort, and New Democrat Party candidate Valerie Kennedy. Over the next hour, we encouraged a healthy debate on the most pressing issues facing Canadians, and given the nature of local programming, more specifically, citizens in Nipissing Timiskaming specifically. Before we went to broadcast, we did a random draw to determine podium position, and we find our position from left to right being Rochefort, Kennedy, and Keller, and that is the way we will go for opening statement. So I will read a bio for Liberal Party candidate Pauline Rochefort, and then she will have 1 minute to introduce herself. For Ms. Rochefort, from supporting Canadian industry in national trade negotiations to helping local businesses grow, Pauline knows how to build strong, sustainable economies. As Mayor of East Ferris, she helped secure millions in funding for healthcare, affordable housing for seniors, and community recreation, working collaboratively with the federal and provincial governments. Rooted in Astorville for generations, Pauline has a deep understanding of local needs. Pauline lives in East Ferris with her husband Ron and their English setter Cooper. Pauline, you have 1 minute.
Bonjour. Hello, Kwe. Today is April 14th, and I would like to start by offering condolences to the Bob Wood family. He served for 16 years as a Liberal MP for our riding, and he was very loved. He is an example of the type of leaders that formed our city. And also today, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the City of North Bay. Congratulations to all citizens and to the city officials. I've been knocking on a lot of doors, and basically what I hear from people is that they're very worried about the United States, Donald Trump certainly in particular. And in response to that, people are saying it is all about the leader this election, and they very much look to Mark Carney as the leader moving forward. They speak of his financial acumen, his ability to manage in crises, and his diplomatic skills at a world level. And so on April 28th, please vote Pauline Rochefort and Mark Carney. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. We now go to Valerie Kennedy. I will read her bio, and then she will address us personally. Ms. Kennedy says, for over 40 years, Valerie Kennedy has been a leader, an advocate, and a fighter for the people of Northern Ontario. Whether it was standing up for workers' rights at Ontario Northland or demanding better health care access for rural communities, she has always been at the forefront of the fight for fairness. Now, as the NDP candidate for Nipissing Timiskaming, she is ready to take her decades of experience and turn it into powerful action for the North. Valerie, you have 1 minute.
Bonjour. I just wanted to say thank you for being a representative for Nipissing Timiskaming. I'm proud and feel very privileged to be doing that. I just wanted to say a few things that I do work with the working class. So I'm a strong advocate for making sure that the working class is taken care of in Nipissing Timiskaming. From Mattawa to North Bay to Charlton, Ontario, we want to make sure we work together and build this beautiful part of the Northern Ontario to the best of our ability, and to make sure that everything is great for everyone in Northern Ontario. And with Jagmeet Singh behind me, I'm very proud to say that Jagmeet will not back down to Trump, as he is a lawyer and he knows what he's talking about and he cares about people. So I'm proud to be part of this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. To our third and final candidate, due to the nature of the random draw, Gary Keller goes last. His bio reads, Gary Keller has nearly 30 years of political experience, including roles as Chief of Staff to John Baird and Rona Ambrose, and working alongside Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He now works as a government relations consultant. Gary and his wife, Anna Pierkarski, who works at Ontario Northland, have 2 young children and a home in Powassan, just south of North Bay. He's proud to put his experience to work for the people of Nipissing Timiskaming and get things done. Gary, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. Bonsoir à tous. My name is Gary Keller, and I'm proud to be your Conservative candidate for the great riding of Nipissing Timiskaming. For the last 9 years, we've had a Liberal government in Ottawa that has been more interested in saying no to getting things done here in Nipissing Timiskaming than yes, especially in our natural resource industry. Mark Carney, Pauline Rochefort, and the Liberal Party are trying to portray themselves as agents of change. But the reality is that 90% of the people around Mr. Carney are the same people that were around Justin Trudeau. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. For me, this election is about one thing only. On election day, the question is this: your taxes have gone up, your cost of living has gone up, and your mortgage and rent has gone up. Are we really going to reward the same people with another 4 years? Friends, there's only one party, the Conservative Party of Canada, that will cut your taxes, stop violent crime, and get our natural resources to market. So on April 28th, I'm asking you to put Canada first and vote Conservative. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Louise Poitras is the Green Party candidate in Nipissing Timiskaming. We did invite Poitras to participate in this debate, but regrettably she was unable to participate. But she did send in a bio, which I will read, and it is in the first person, so keep that in mind as I read this. She says, quote, "I am Algonquin and French, and I reside in my home city of North Bay. As your MP, my goal is to create a healthier, greener, and more sustainable future for our vibrant communities." She goes on to say, "I will also advocate for the promotion of local farmers, producers, artisans, small businesses, and community organizations." Poitras says, "I am bilingual, dynamic, and a cancer survivor. I will always put the people and the planet first. I am enthusiastic to fight for my constituents in Parliament. Remember that without your voice, I have no voice." That is the words, those are the words of Louise Poitras. We thank her for sending that in, and we will now begin the debate. Arguably on the mind of each and every Canadian. In the lead up to this election, there was significant discourse regarding tariffs and what Canadians should do to mitigate their effects. Given that these tariffs have now been implemented, if elected, what measures would you take to help residents of Nipissing Timiskaming deal with them and their economic repercussions? We will begin in order of the opening statements. So that means Pauline Rochefort will address the tariff concern first. Pauline.
Thank you very much. So certainly it is a matter of leadership. And basically we have seen all of the provinces, the leaders of the provinces come together with Mark Carney to decide on what would be our response to the tariffs. And so basically they have gone forth and have established a policy that would see maximum impact on our neighbors to the south with minimum impact on us Canadians. And so it's all about fighting on behalf of Canada, protecting our workers, and building. And so this is a large cornerstone of the Mark Carney platform, which is all about building. It's a new government, a new direction, masters of our own future.
Before we get to the debate portion, we'll continue in order of the podiums for this response. So that means Val Kennedy can address the tariff concern. Val.
Beautiful. So I know all Canadians are worried about the tariff. I can let you know that I believe that Trump is imploding the United States of America as he's imploding himself. I believe people in the United States of America will be standing up. But let me tell you one thing. Who is going to stand up? It will be me. It will be us standing up with our Indigenous community, our French Canadians, and all of us as we stand arm in arm as we build our country from coast to coast to coast. And making sure that we take care of our friends in Atlantic Canada by making sure you buy the lobster, making sure that we drink beautiful wine from the Okanagan, and taking care of each other. If we cut down a tree, we're going to build a house. In our mining sector, we have the best natural resources. We're going to take care of that. We're going to take care of interprovincial. And I just want to let you know that, you know what, Trump is out there, but guess what? We're Canadians, elbows up, we're strong, we will survive this.
Debate to follow, but first we'll hear from Gary Keller.
Yeah, a great question, and I think we're all united on the stage when we say we need a strong response to Donald Trump and his economic chaos that he's unleashed, not just in Canada, but across the world as well. Look, Conservatives have been very clear that we've supported the reciprocal tariffs on those industries for the United States, and I think that's really important. Conservatives have also been very clear that we want to support and provide help for workers in affected sectors, whether it's the auto industry or the steel industry. We've proposed a Keep Canadians Working Fund, a fund that was modeled on some of the similar programs that Stephen Harper and the Conservatives brought in the 2008 Great Recession. But what we need to do is we need to build an economic fortress around this country. We need to get our resources to market. We need to go east-west, not necessarily north-south. And the reality is, over this last 9 years, a lost Liberal decade, we've seen $500 billion of funding and dollars leave this country to go south. And remember, it was Mark Carney who sent jobs from Toronto, from Brookfield, to New York City. Is that the kind of leadership we want?
Thank you, Mr. Keller. to light a match on the debate, how do you approach negotiations with the U.S. president who is very erratic? Anybody can jump in.
Well, we have to stand up tall and strong, and you know what? Jagmeet will do that. Being a lawyer, he will negotiate with Trump. But to be honest, we're just going to move forward as Canadians, and we're going to stand up strong for our working class. And I feel sorry for our automotive industry that is really affecting everyone in Canada, our brothers and sisters in arms. We want to make sure that they get a good settlement and are taken care of through Jagmeet Singh, and the NDP party will make sure our workers are held high.
Pauline and Gary, you don't have to ask my permission, just jump in.
Yeah.
No, well, you know, we need to continue doing some of the things that have been already done when a premier like Doug Ford or other premiers go down to Washington, and there's a bit of a divide and conquer there. You know, Donald Trump says one thing, and Howard Lutnick, his Commerce Secretary, says another. So we've got to keep working those channels all through that. But we do need to stand strong against Donald Trump's tariffs, but we need to start creating the economic fortress here at home, getting our natural resources to market. We've got to link arms with like-minded countries, whether it's countries in the EU, whether it's countries like Mexico. You know, Pierre Poilievre has talked about going right to renegotiation USMCA. Mexico has been strong, and there's potential allies there. So I think there's opportunity to work together in the coming days and weeks.
So the Liberal Party has put forward a full program to assist in protecting our workers, as you so well described, Valerie. And so basically a $2 billion fund. There are changes to our employment insurance and so on. But certainly it is a matter of leadership. As we move forward, the only way we will succeed is by being united. And I'd like to point out, for all of you that watch news, we're well aware that Quebec is going to probably vote red in this election, but they would not have voted in support of Pierre Poilievre. And so as we work to bring collaboration amongst our various provinces, that is an issue for us. The same thing in Ontario. I was at a conference of rural Ontario municipalities, 2,000 people in the room.
Thank you, Pauline. Unfortunately, we're out of time on that one. In the next portion of the debate, anybody can jump in at any point, but we do have to move on to the next question. My apologies for cutting you off there.
No worries.
Canadians are grappling, as we move on to our next question, with economy-wide inflation, low investment, and the challenge of working while taking less home in terms of a paycheck, a reality that has eroded both household savings and public confidence in recent years. Given this context, what is your party's long-term plan to build a more resilient, inclusive economy? Specifically, how will you help raise productivity, attract investment, and ensure that rising profits or growth actually translate to better wages for people who plan to vote and work in Canada? I open it up to Mr. Keller to start.
Yeah, another great question, because it's on people's minds about what we need to do. Well, first of all, we need to stop the red tape and regulation that the lost Liberal decade over the last 9-10 years has imposed, not just on people's lives, but on the economy as a whole. As I mentioned, we've seen a $500 billion of investment flow out of this country because we've been an unfriendly business environment. There's been too much political risk. We've had a Liberal government that has imposed massive carbon taxes, both on consumers and on industry. And Conservatives want to stop that taxation, and they want to get people back to work. So Conservatives have promised a raft of programs if elected. You know, we've talked about a 15% tax cut for the lowest income earners out there. We've talked about no GST on new homes under $1.3 million. That's almost virtually every home that would be built here in Nipissing, Timiskaming. And we want to let seniors keep more of their money in RRSPs for longer so that they continue to earn for those years when they need it.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. That you're out of time. Ms. Kennedy?
So as far as our economy goes, I can tell you, even in North Bay right here, right now, we have the Ontario Northland Railway with their skilled trades workers building proud work by doing the GO trains, refurbishing them. So we have strong skilled trades across Canada. We have to open it up for apprentices, both women and men, to get apprenticeships going and making sure that they can build the houses that we're going to build in Canada, work in the mines, and also interprovincially, we're going to make sure that we can, as skilled trades, work in all provinces. Our healthcare, all provinces. Education, all provinces. As we do that and lift others, our country is going to stand firm and strong. And yes. So anyway, I just want to reinforce that it's about our working class building Canada, and not the billionaires. Well, let's tax those billionaires and let's make
Thank
sure.
you, Val. You're out of time. We go now to Pauline to address the economy issue. Pauline.
Every citizen in our riding wants to be able to put food on the table, a roof over their heads, ensure education, health care, and a secure environment. There's a third of our citizens that live on a household income after tax of $40,000 or less. So certainly we need to tackle that and address that. And so basically a Carney government is looking at protecting all of our social services at the same time as growing our economy. It's all about economic prosperity, investing in trade, investing in our business sector. And so basically if we just look at interprovincial trade, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has said that that would expand our economy by 8%. By supporting and growing our critical mineral opportunity, it is twice that opportunity to expand our economy. And these are all ways and manners that would eventually flow back through to our citizens. Thank you.
Open debate. I'll start the debate by saying a bag of groceries for a single person a week. You're looking about $150 if you want to eat somewhat healthy. How does someone afford that, not even considering a family?
Yeah, well, what I'd say about that is this is the NDP's policy about taxing the billionaires, taxing the multimillionaires, making sure their money's not going to Cayman Islands or in tax dodges. But we're going to take care of everyone in Canada by giving everyone a living wage with dignity. It doesn't have to be $1 million house. We just need a home where you can have some food in the fridge and take care of yourself and have dignity. And let's talk about the unhoused people. We want to make sure that everyone has the dignity in Canada, and we can do that. We can do that easy. It's quick.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we're talking about getting critical minerals out of the ground because that's really important for this riding.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
We've seen nothing but regulation and red tape, multiple layers, and some projects have taken 10 years to get off the ground and are still not getting off the ground. But while we're talking about taxes, I'm glad we've raised it because it's my understanding that as Mayor of East Ferris, Pauline, in just the last 7 weeks, East Ferris taxes have gone up by 6.3%. And 2 years ago, taxes went up by an eye-watering 10%. You know, Liberals love to tax, try to tax their way to prosperity. Conservatives will cut your taxes and spend responsibly after billions and trillions of dollars have been wasted by the Trudeau government. And as I said, with Mark Carney, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Pauline, please respond
yes,
to that.
I'll start with that, certainly mentioning East Ferris. If Gary had done his full homework, he would have found out that East Ferris is one of the most affordable communities, not only in the Nipissing riding, but throughout northeastern Ontario.
We're
actually at the bottom of the list when it comes to property taxes. And so on that note, thank you so very much, because everyone is looking to move to East Ferris. It's a very popular community.
No sewer, no water.
Because
what was
of
the
its
money
affordability.
For? What were the taxes for?
So basically, where are the opportunities for us to be able to ensure that we can reduce that shopping cart, as you've just mentioned? Certainly, it's about, with the Mark Carney government, it's about balance. So it's maintaining all of our social programs, but definitely, this is why it's a new government. It is not the same Liberal Party of 5 years ago. It's a Liberal.
Thank you. We appreciate all of you responding to that, and we encourage that moving forward. It's great to hear the passion in your voices. We're going to move on to a topic that has taken a backseat to COVID, has taken a backseat to tariffs. It's climate change. What would your government do to ensure that polluters pay for their greenhouse gas pollution while either strengthening the industrial carbon levy or replacing it with a sector-wide cap and trade program? We're going to start with Ms. Kennedy.
So this is important, and it's really important for our youth to think about the environment, because I really believe that we haven't been talking about it enough. So about the mines, definitely, that's what that's important, our natural resources, but you want to make sure that if they are going into a mine, that they get the permission. We're not just walking over Indigenous land, we're going to work with Indigenous people, and we're going to make sure that if there are mines being built, that they're not leaving a mess behind like they have in Northern Ontario. That is not going to happen. So the environment first, absolutely, that's one of the priorities of the NDP.
Pauline, we'll go to you next.
Obviously, the Liberal government, Mark Carney, has removed the carbon tax, but we'll be maintaining the industrial tax. And the flow from that tax will help to provide incentives so that we can buy more green appliances, eventually electric vehicles. And I say, basically, we've just had a record year for oil production and oil shipment to the United States. And if the industrial carbon tax had been such an issue, why is that? Why is it that they've operated under industrial carbon tax and have had record shipments? And so to me, that indicates that we can have both a good climate environment, and as well good trade opportunities.
Mr. Keller, official opposition leader Pierre Poilievre has been calling for the axe to tax for years. Is that a commitment from Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives?
Well, absolutely. You can count on Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives to axe the carbon tax. You know, 6 months ago, the carbon tax, the consumer carbon tax, it was vital for the planet's survival. We were all going to burn if we didn't have a consumer carbon tax. I talked to one farmer, Norm Cook, of Cook Farms in New Liskeard, who said in the last 2 years he paid $475,000 in carbon taxes. Now, 6 weeks later, of course, what carbon tax? Liberals are trying to memory hold out that down the chute for the last 9 years. They're trying to forget and make people forget about that. So what Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre have talked about is, when it comes to climate change, technology, not taxes. Technology is going to be the way that we reduce our emissions and get clean, green Canadian technology on the world stage. And when it comes to conservation, I'm proud of my record, going back all the way to 2007, working with the Nature Conservancy of Canada to bring in the private sector and partner with government to protect wetlands and other protected species and areas.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. You're out of time. We're going to skip the debate on this topic to make room for more debate later on. We continue with another topic, law and order. We regularly see people arrested for committing crimes and then out on bail a short time later where they recommit the same crimes. The justice system seems to be broken and in need of reform. Will your party provide support to our police officers so that they do not have to arrest and rearrest the same people under similar circumstances for similar crimes? Mr. Keller, first to you.
For the last 9 years, we've had a liberal soft on crime, hug a thug policy that has created an increase in crime in our neighborhoods. In the first Liberal term, in their first majority, they brought in Bill C-75, which relaxed bail conditions for all sorts of common criminals. We're seeing all sorts of people out on bail recommitting all sorts of, whether it's property crime or violent crime. It has become an epidemic, and we can place the blame and the onus on that directly on the Liberal government. A Conservative government will bring in a 3 strikes and you're out policy for violent criminals, and just today, Pierre Poilievre announced a new policy to bring back consecutive sentencing for mass murderers, something that the courts got rid of in 2022 after a Supreme Court decision. We're going to bring back to make sure violent criminals who commit multiple murders can serve consecutive sentences, not just one sentence. That's getting tough on crime. That's putting Canada first and putting public safety first.
Ms. Kennedy, we will get to you. You'll go last in this portion. We're going to go Ms. Rochefort first.
Actually, when you look at Canada, our country is now safer than it was back in the 1990s. There's been an uptake in crime, certainly with youth, with online scams, and with car theft. But when you look at the North Bay Police Department, they've reported that when you look at our crime severity index, since 2020, it has been decreasing due to their good work. The Chamber has certainly identified issues at the core of our city with respect to homelessness. But here again, as a result of their recommendations, there have been public safety measures that have been taken. And we have seen the North Bay Police Department just released this week, actually, a decrease in the number of incidents that have been occurring in the core. But certainly a Carney government is going to get much tougher on crime. We know that under Harper, there was tremendous incarceration. We swung, maybe we relaxed. Now we need to bring it back. And that's, again, a Carney government is all about balance and getting tough on crime.
Ms. Kennedy. We'll open up the debate shortly.
Yes.
First, we have to hear from Ms. Kennedy.
Yeah, so definitely we're not going to go to the American style where it's for-profit jails. This is a big topic, and we're definitely not going to do that in Canada. And as far as supporting our service workers that go out every day into the community, we're going to make sure that our people that are protecting people are out with people that work with mental health as well. So we're not just going to jail people on the street. We're not going to fine them $10,000 if they have a tent that you're taking down. We're not doing that. We're going to work with the community and making sure we're working with municipalities, the provincial government, and the federal government. And of course, if there's a serious crime, then there'll be serious consequences. But let's not just categorize everyone in a big barrel and thinking that our unhoused are not worthy of care.
Debate is open.
Let's thank North Bay Police, I've talked to some of their frontline officers. They've done a great job at trying to get the crime down in the downtown core. Thank you for them and for their service and what they do every day. But it's in spite of the federal government and the Trudeau government, now the Carney government's policy, not because of those policies. And I agree with you. When we have unhoused people on our streets who are suffering from addictions and those troubles, we need to provide treatment. We don't need to provide safe supply like the Liberal government has been doing, handing out free drugs, whether it's fentanyl, whether it's cocaine or other drugs. We need to stop that, and we need to get people into treatment, get them the help that they need. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives want to promise 50,000 new treatment spots across the country. Many of those could be here in this region. That's the kind of help we need to deliver people who need our help.
What I really like about the Mark Carney plan is that there will be investment for first responders. In many of our communities, the first responders are there, the first people on the site. And so basically there will be funding to help support. In many of our communities, that's volunteer work that's done by people who are volunteering to do this work. Mark Carney will toughen the criminal code, will put more money towards public defenders, and so will ensure that it's no longer a revolving door. We agree that that's been a problem. And so Mark Carney will get tough on crime and will hire RCMP officers and will also at the border ensure that there's no guns and drugs coming in from the United States, which is where there's a big problem.
It is a big problem, there's no question. And I've talked to many people about fentanyl, OxyContin, and let me tell you, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for our poor folks that are on the street where it's unhoused, and then it goes to mental health addictions? You know why? We need to take a look at the pharmaceutical companies who are actually giving the doctors these things and talking to doctors and educating people about the troubles, because it's not just unhoused people that are working using fentanyl and OxyContin. My father-in-law was addicted to OxyContin through no fault of his own. So let's talk to the doctors, let's talk to the communities, and definitely talk to the paramedics who are the first responders. They are able to do some great things. Let's take care of those first responders. Let's take care of the nurses. Let's take care of the police who are going through mental health themselves, having to deal with these very serious situations.
Appreciate those comments. I'll throw this open to anyone who wants to say yes or no response. Should safe injection sites be part of the equation?
Yes.
They should be out of the equation.
They should be in the equation.
Safe supply. We should stop handing out free drugs to addicts and others and get them the treatment that they want and they need.
Right.
Why do you disagree with that?
Well, I disagree because these people are struggling. And you know what? They're human beings and they have dignity.
And they need treatment.
Yes, they do need treatment, but they don't need to be locked away with treatment. They need to have great treatment. They need recovery process with the medical community and community support.
Do you support safe supply?
Pauline, I'd like your thoughts on this.
Our North Bay Area Chamber of Commerce has said that we need integrated hubs where there is housing, treatments for opioids and medication, and that is basically a recommendation that's being pursued in this community.
Do you support safe supply? Pauline, do you support safe supply?
Let's go to the issue again. The issue is taking care of folks, and that's what the NDP will do.
Ms. Katie has a final word on that. Thank you for that debate. There is a fifth candidate in Nipissing Timiskaming, and he represents the party led by Maxime Bernier. That's the People's Party of Canada. Locally, John Jansen is on the ballot. An area resident of more than 20 years, John and his wife Beth, along with their two children, live in an off-grid hobby farm in Chisholm. John is the founder of ITSN, an information technology company supplying IT services across Ontario. In his free time, John enjoys crownland camping with his family, and he's an avid enthusiast of hunting, fishing, and sport shooting. John is proud to carry the PPC banner and defend the values of freedom and personal responsibility, and we have a submitted video.
Hi, my name is John Jansen. I'm the candidate for the PPC in Nipissing Timiskaming. To introduce myself, I've lived in Chisholm for 20 years with my wife and two children on a small family farm. And I run ITSN, an IT company servicing Ontario businesses. A PPC government will stop mass immigration, protecting our jobs and homes. We'll end woke nonsense, restoring true Canadian values. We will focus on restoring our economy, ending corporate handouts, downsize government, and lower taxes. And especially important to me as an avid hunter and shooter, stop punishing legal gun owners and focus on crime. We want Canadians to be safe. Check out our full PPC platform and vote your values. Thank you.
That's John Jansen from the PPC. We now move into a discussion tied to affordability. It is housing. Affordable housing is increasingly out of reach for many Canadians, including middle-class families and young people just starting out here in the riding. In Nipissing, Timiskaming, rental prices have also skyrocketed and home purchase feels unattainable for many. What concrete steps will you take to make housing more affordable and increase the affordable supply locally? Ms. Rochefort first.
By far, the Liberal platform is the most comprehensive platform when it comes to housing. It recognizes that here in our city, a third of our households are renters, and the DSAB is calling for 45,000 new affordable units, as well as rent geared to income units in the next 10 years. And so that's a lot of new homes that are required. Basically, last year we built 99 or 100 dwellings here in our city. And in order to meet those targets that are being called for by the DSAB, we will need to build 4 or 5 times more of those amounts. And so I'm very delighted that the Liberal platform is very rich. The city's already started to move in that direction. They received $10 million from the Housing Accelerator Fund to remove barriers to construction. They've received funding from the province as well to build infrastructure and roads. And our mayor has received a strong mayor rights in order to move building forward.
Mr. Keller.
Well, I'll tell you what the Liberals have promised. They've promised to build a big, giant, new, shiny bureaucracy with thousands of workers in Ottawa to create something called Canada Builds. And friends, that's not the way to get houses built in this country. You know, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, we've been very clear about we need to fix the housing crisis in this country. And Pierre's been out quite early on, over a year ago, with a suite of policy options to try to get the housing system moving again. In this election campaign, we've promised no GST on new houses under $1.3 million. That would be virtually almost any new house built here in the riding of Nipissing-Timiskaming. The other challenge we've had is, and the Liberals have admitted this, that they broke the immigration system when they increased legal immigration to 500,000 people per year. That put pressure on the housing system, put pressure on the education system, put pressure on the healthcare system. Those have had huge negative impacts. We also want to bring in rewards for municipalities who beat their housing targets. That's getting houses built. That's putting Canada first.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Ms. Kennedy, concerning housing and it being affordable.
Okay, so again, we're going to tax the billionaires. We're going to tax the multimillionaires. We're going to make sure we have homes for everyone. And we're not talking about $1 million houses. We're not even talking about, you know, maybe $500,000 house, which is unattainable. I mean, my son has 5 children, and he's worried that they're not going to have homes to live in. But let me tell you, they don't, you know, as you're starting out, you don't need a house that's got 3 floors or 2 bathrooms. We can have houses that are acceptable for your family and definitely enough room to take care of everybody. It doesn't have to be a big sprawling estate. And you know what? We're going to do that. There is no question. We're going to spend money and we're going to build homes. I know that in North Bay, I don't think there's been social housing since the 1990s. Shame. Shame on that.
Thank you. We're skipping debate on this portion, moving to our next question, and it's concerning Indigenous issues. While Canadians are committed to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, there is much need for improved relations that would reopen opportunities for collaboration and increased economic participation. What actions will you take towards reconciliation and improving relations with Indigenous communities? So going further than just a simple land acknowledgement at press events, we're going to start with Ms. Kennedy first.
So I'm a very strong proponent of our Indigenous folks and the Indigenous people, and I've been speaking to elders, and I get quite emotional when I think about how the Indigenous community has been treated. But you know what I was told? We're sick of the empathy. We want results, and we need someone strong standing up for us. We don't need to hear about all the stuff. We just want reconciliation, and we want it now. I was talking to an Indigenous elder yesterday in Timmins who was about 80, I think she was 84, and she said, you know, I'm sick of hearing things. I need results. I was from residential schools. My son was in a residential school. This has to stop. We have to lift our Indigenous people, and guess what? We're privileged to walk on Indigenous land. We all are. So let's stand side by side and lift the Indigenous community.
Mr. Keller, you'll go last on this portion. Ms. Rochefort first regarding Indigenous issues.
Well, certainly I see myself supporting the work of the North Bay Indigenous Friendship Centres as they move forward with the city and other partners on the 94 calls for action that came out of reconciliation. In our writing as well, there's a modern day treaty that's being developed with the Algonquins of Ontario, and there's also the Timiskaming First Nations that are that have issues as well that will need to be addressed. But certainly for me, in this upcoming 4 years, there's going to be 2 issues with respect to Indigenous relations, and that is the matter of justice. We need to develop frameworks for collaboration with First Nations and resource development. Carney government is putting $10 billion towards a loan guarantee program so First Nations can participate in the development of our resources. And I'd like to point to Kitimat, the LNG shipment port that will be opening very shortly. And basically that was done with First Nations, private sector, and government.
Thank you, candidates. Mr. Keller, you're last on this topic.
Yes, thanks. And you know, I had the good fortune of being in the House of Commons in the gallery in 2008 when Stephen Harper issued his apology to First Nations and Indigenous peoples for the scourge of residential schools. It's a very emotional moment, and that's what true reconciliation means. But we also need to talk about economic reconciliation. We need to have First Nations and Indigenous peoples fully participating in our economic growth. And that's why a Conservative government has promised to take a provincial program in Alberta, the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, and bring it on the national scale to provide First Nations who want to engage in resource development, natural resource development, all sorts of tourism opportunities, to have that ability to take advantage, to get those loan guarantees. First Nations and Indigenous groups are incredibly resourceful, they're incredibly entrepreneurial, and they want to share in these benefits as well. And so we need to work together to bring economic reconciliation for all Indigenous and First Nations people.
We're going to open up to debate, and like the nature before, anybody can jump in to get things started. Pipeline across Canada for economic value. It's going to have to go through First Nation land. How do you approach that?
That's right. So this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to run over Indigenous land. We are not doing it. We don't have the right to do it. We're not going to do it. But what we could do, instead of thinking about pipelines, we already have a rail that goes east to west. Put those tanks on the rail, and move them quickly, because it's going to take forever to get. My dad was a pipeliner. I understand pipelines. You know, we were raised in that. But I can tell you, going east to west, right across this beautiful country with our rail. Get those tanks on rail and move it quickly, move it fast. It can happen.
First, a pipeline is safer than moving oil by
you know
rail,
what?
and you can only move more oil by pipeline than you by rail.
Right.
But let's talk about an economic corridor, a pipeline corridor. Of course, that has to take consultations with First Nations people. Of course, they have to be part of that discussion. And these programs and these projects are only going to succeed when First Nations are working together. The courts have been very clear. The justice system has been very clear. There's a long record now of judgment that says First Nations people have to be engaged and have those discussions and have the right to say yes or no. So we have to work with those people, and a Conservative government will do exactly that.
Well, I know with pipelines going through North Bay, going through North Bay, we got a drinking water in North Bay. They don't want a pipeline going through North Bay. We don't want it. We're protecting our water.
Just to put a point on that, the pipeline's here, it's natural gas. They wanted to convert it to bitumen, so that was the issue. Don't mean to interrupt. Ms. Rochefort?
Yeah. Well, certainly every First Nation person I've met since I've been knocking on doors are very concerned about Pierre Poilievre, that has suggested that he would be reducing the timelines on the environmental impact assessment, basically doing away with it just about. Right. They have a right that's been gained, as you pointed out, Gary, through the Supreme Court. And so the right to consultation is now built into the system. A Mark Carney approach is much more comprehensive and understanding that we will move forward on these projects in collaboration.
Mark Carney said 2 years.
We have had 10 years, pardon me, of things not happening for Indigenous folks. And they're sick of it, and we have to take...
pipelines. Pierre Poilievre said 1 year to build a pipeline. Whether it's 2 years or 1 year, you're going to have those discussions and engagement and agreement with First Nations people. But we are pledging that one-stop shop so that you have one environmental assessment, you have 1 year timelines, and one place to get things done. We need to start moving our resources to market, but we have to do it in consultation and partnership with First Nations.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to move on. If you're in downtown Toronto, this isn't a problem, but most of us are in rural areas. If we're speaking Northern Ontario, rural areas are underserved when it comes to high-speed internet connectivity. What would your plan be to ensure all residents of Nipissing-Timiskaming have access to high-speed internet? Mr. Keller, you're first.
Yeah, a great question, because that has been a real live issue for a lot of people. Look, over the last number of years, there has been improvements to high-speed internet across certain parts of the country, including Northern Ontario, but it's taken a lot of time and it's taken a lot of money. I think we need to take a step back and see exactly where we're at and what communities still need that service, so that we can find ways through, say, regional development organizations or FedNor, and work with the provinces as well to make sure that as many people have access to high-speed internet and broadband as much as possible. But there has to be also private sector solutions that we can find to work together to ensure that this has been done in a responsible way with taxpayers' dollars.
Yes. Ms. Kennedy, you're up next.
So I live in Northern Ontario, as everyone probably knows, so access to high-speed internet is pretty well impossible, especially for our rural northern communities. You know, let's look at Starlink. Let's look at Starlink. Why can't we do that here? Like, why can't we do that in Canada? Why can't we develop Starlink here so everyone in Canada can have internet and high speed?
I'm not sure I want to trust Elon Musk.
I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I'm saying he's done it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We don't need Elon Musk to do it. We can do it as Canadians. We have to do it.
There's been a lot of work done in our riding on internet, and certainly when you look at the very closely followed statistics, we see that outside of North Bay, 45% of homes still aren't up to the standards that have been set for 50 megabytes per second of downloading and 10 seconds uploading. And so basically that work is underway, and it's with the provincial government actually and the federal government, and here in our community we have Blue Sky Net. So definitely we have work that needs to be continued definitely on that front.
We're going to jump into a new topic, and it's very much tied into 22 Wings CFB North Bay. We support our troops. What is your approach to NATO as it's being called into question with the abrasive nature of U.S. President Donald Trump? We'll start with Pauline Rochefort first.
Well, basically, I wanted to say first and foremost that we're very fortunate in North Bay to have Canadian Forces Base as well as NORAD. It brings to our community 500 military personnel, 500 civilians. And so as a result of that, we have a 10,000-foot runaway that meets military grade. And so basically tremendous opportunity for us, as Mark Carney has made a promise that we would meet our 2% our commitment to NATO by 2030. So opportunities for us in our community as a result of this commitment to rebuild our armed forces and to rearm ourselves as a country. And so I look forward to developing that opportunity.
Pauline, Mr. Keller.
First of all, let me thank the men and women at 22 Wing for their service to our country. Thank you for doing that. It's an honor to have you in our city and in North Bay. You know, again, over the last Liberal decade, we've seen Canadian defense spending go down and down and down. And even Justin Trudeau, about a year ago, said, we're never going to meet our 2% target. The reality is we absolutely need to meet our 2% target for our needs, so that we have the defense, both here at home and to support missions abroad, and in the Arctic as well, where we're seeing increased Russian and Chinese incursions. You know, we need to get serious about doing this. But the Liberal government has had 10 years to make these promises, and they haven't delivered. So I guess the question for me is, do you actually trust the Liberals to get it done? I certainly don't. That's why we need a new Conservative government that's committed to the military, that will actually get things done over the next 3 or 4 years. We need to focus on recruitment and procurement. It takes far too long to get people into the Canadian Forces, up to 9 months in some cases. That's not good enough. We need to do better.
Thank you, Gary. Ms. Kennedy, concerning NATO and 2%.
Yes. So as far as the recruitment goes, I do know that because we're now in this crisis with the United States, that actually, because we, proud Canadians, recruitment's been very good. And I come from a military family, and I thank everyone for their service across this country. We need to take care of our rangers, that are taking care of the Arctic, for Arctic sovereignty, and that is a big issue, especially with all the issues with Russia. And of course, we want to, encourage our young men and women to take the pledge, take care of Canada. You know what? We're all behind you, and if I could do it, I'd do it today. of course, being the NDP, we are peacekeepers, and we are a country of peacekeepers. So we want to make sure we have a strong army, and NORAD, of course. And but again, let's really keep our hope for peace.
Thank you, candidates. I think we can all say that you all stand for our troops, and we appreciate that. We're going to move on to a topic that's very much tied to a topic we discussed earlier, that's immigration. In your mind, how much of an effect has immigration had on the housing affordability and accessibility? Let's start with Ms. Rochefort first.
And so basically, as I knock on doors and meet with businesses, one of the big issues they face is a lack of employees, staffing. It's a major issue. The mining sector has indicated that they need to hire 2,000 people in the next little while. And so basically a major problem. As we've grown our workforce here in North Bay, 4% over the past decade, we've seen a substantial decrease in newcomers, 7%, compared to the province of Ontario growing its newcomers to 10%. And so there is work to be done. I went into a manufacturing entity recently. The employer said, I can't stay open. I don't have any staff. I went onto the floor and the employee said to me, that was in that manufacturing unit, new Canadians are taking my jobs. And so basically there's a dichotomy, but certainly Northern Policy Institute is indicating for the North, we need to recruit 8,000 new Canadians on an annual basis to meet the needs of our workforce.
Thank you, Ms. Rochefort. Mr. Keller, regarding immigration and how much it's tied to housing availability.
Well, of course, it's been a huge impact, and we've seen the Liberal government acknowledge, Mark Miller, the then Minister of Immigration, say, yeah, we broke the system. That's not right. And increased immigration that has had no tie to the numbers of people and the economic situation has had a negative impact on our communities. You know, unchecked immigration or high-level immigration has put pressure on the education system, the housing system, the healthcare system. And again, Liberals were the ones who admitted that they broke that system. You know, what we also need to do in a riding like this is we need to really train up skilled trades. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are promising 350,000 new skilled trades across the country with a $4,000 apprenticeship grant for each of them. That's going to get people skilled up into the apprenticeships, and the impact for a riding like this is huge. So that kind of plan is going to put Canada first, put people first, and get people to work here in Nipissing, Timiskaming.
Ms. Kennedy, what is Jagmeet Singh's and yours approach to immigration, and how much tied in is it to affordable and accessible housing?
Very much so. Like while I was door knocking, definitely it's a big struggle for people. You know, the housing, we need more houses. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build more houses. I can tell you, first of all, I'm proud to live in a country that is multicultural, because we've all been immigrants here. Our families all came from across the seas. In this day and age, people don't want to leave their own country, but they're in dire need, so they come to Canada, and we accept them. And let me tell you, there are a lot of jobs out there that are not being filled. Our teachers, the regulations for the doctors that are actually doctors coming into Canada, the regulations that they have to go through. We need doctors. There's 10,000 doctors that have come from different countries. We need to make sure that that's quickened up, because we need doctors in Ontario, Canada, everywhere. We need them everywhere. So
maybe we can recruit some of those from the United States, some of those doctors and nurses who want to leave the United States. Bring them to Northern Ontario. Wouldn't that be
Bring
great?
them. They'll also be immigrants. So it's a beautiful thing. Bring them.
We are open for debate.
Yeah.
Anyone can talk at any time.
Canada College lost a lot of students as a result of the changes in the immigration policies. That has an impact on our city as we lose employees that are working in our restaurants, in our retail establishments. But certainly they were delighted when Mark Carney announced the program for skills training for new apprentices. And so basically we look forward to developing that opportunity with our college and our university.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and to your point, we have great educational institutions, whether it's Canadore, whether it's Nipissing University, and that's, you know, we can be a hub to skill up and train these people to work in these economies. But the fact of the matter still remains. The reason why we're having this boom and bust in terms of people coming from other countries and then being forced to leave is because the Liberal Party of Canada and the Liberal government broke the immigration system. Their own ministers admitted it. And now it's going to take months, if not years, to get things back on track. Only a Conservative government that will tie immigration to the economic situation in this country will get things back on track and put Canada first.
We're about 45 seconds away from our closing statement, but this is the last opportunity to debate, and we are currently on the topic of immigration.
Okay, so immigration is very important to Canada. We're a very vast country. We're big, and we need lots of people. We're going to need a lot of people working in those mines and building homes for people. We're definitely going to need people that are skilled. And it's not like they're just going to come into Canada. It's very good regulations in Canada to come into this fine country. And this is what our country is built on, is immigration.
Open debate.
Okay.
It's open.
Yes. So it's very important that we take care of immigration and we take care of the folks that are needing some work and making sure we're building homes for everyone.
And when you talk about doctors and nurses, we
Yes.
talked about before,
Yes.
we need to eliminate and reduce the red tape and regulations so that
100%.
they can have their
100%.
credentials tested here so that we can get them
We
in
need
here.
them working.
Northern Ontario needs
10
it
seconds
desperately,
left in
and
this
I want to
debate.
help
We
work
need
and do
nurses,
that.
doctors, we need educators, because our school system needs educators so badly. And we need to bring those people in there, bring everyone in and let them.
All right. That concludes the question and answer and debate portion of this debate. We appreciate all three of your participation and healthy debate. We're going to go in reverse order for closing statements, and you have double the time. 2 minutes for your closing remarks. We'll start with Conservative candidate Gary Keller, who represents the Conservatives, and Pierre Poilievre. Mr. Keller.
Well, merci, Clark. Thank you, Clark. And thank you to yourTV and Cogeco Cable North Bay for welcoming us and putting on this debate today. I really appreciated the opportunity to debate the issues here today. You know, going around the riding of Nipissing Timiskaming, I know how much opportunity there is in this riding. I'm struck by the opportunities that we have. Whether it's our amazing mining industry headquartered here in North Bay, where we have global leaders headquartered here. Whether it's our farming and agriculture industries in the northern part of our riding, and the dairy industries. Whether it's natural resources and forestry. I've had the chance to meet many people in these different lines of work. We are at a center of growth and opportunity here, and I believe that on North Bay's 100th anniversary, we have the opportunity to grow and build and make the next 100 years even bigger than that. But I also believe that only a Conservative government can be the one to get things done for this riding and get things done for Canadians. Some of the policies that we've talked about already, a 15% tax cut for the lowest income earners, letting seniors keep more of their earnings instead of being clawed back, allowing them to earn more through their RRSPs. You know, whether it's no GST on new homes, 350,000 skilled trades apprenticeships across the country, allowing workers who travel for work. Many people in this riding have to travel for work to claim their expenses. You know, all the way through to helping our veterans and standing tall against Donald Trump and building an economic fortress around this country. It's only the Conservative Party that can lead us and do these sorts of things. After 9 long years, as I mentioned before, of a Liberal government that has raised your taxes, a Liberal government that has made us less safe, and a Liberal government that hasn't got our natural resources market, it's time for a change. So on April 28th, you have a change. You have the opportunity to make a difference. So on April 28th, I'm kindly asking for your vote. Vote Conservative, and let's put Canada first for a change. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. We're going to move to Val Kennedy, who is of the New Democratic Party, and that is led by Jagmeet Singh nationally. Ms. Kennedy, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
I'm honored to be a representative for Nipissing Timiskaming as the NDP candidate, and let me tell you, I will show strength in Ottawa with Jagmeet. Now, Jagmeet is his 3rd term as a leader in this country. Let's stand behind him. He knows what it takes to make sure that all Canadians are taken care of, and not just the billionaires, but everyone in Canada is taken care of, that we all have a living wage, and absolutely supporting our businesses, because they are the backbone of our country. And yes, it's great to make money. There's nothing wrong with making money, but when you're making money, make sure you're sharing it. You're sharing that tax base with all of Canada and not sending it away. That's a real big priority for me. And also, living in Northern Ontario, I'm telling you, my blood is all run through Northern Ontario. But I can tell you it's about transportation. If you leave North Bay, even to go to Mattawa or to go to visit your family in Northern Ontario, we have a moose trail of a highway that there are accidents probably weekly. Our highways close probably 3 times a week. And these accidents are not with a sore neck. These accidents are fatalities. We have to stop treating the North as if we don't belong. We need to link up our highways, have safe highways, start moving some of the transports on the rail as it runs parallel to Highway 11, fix up our Highway 11 and Highway 17, and make sure that we're going to be safe and joined. And if we want to bring people to Northern Ontario, we have to have passenger services. And that should be right across Canada, but particularly in Northern Ontario, it's a soft spot for me as the PCs put us up for sale to privatize us. But let me tell you that Northern Ontario stood up and our employees stood up and we won that battle, and the Liberals took our passenger train away. Let's hope that's coming back in June.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. You've reached the conclusion of your 2 minutes. And Ms. Rochefort, just hold on 2 seconds. Ms. Rochefort did have her opening remarks first, so in that nature, she has the closing remarks last. You have 2 minutes, and Pauline Rochefort represents the Liberal Party of Canada, led by Mark Carney.
I do want to mention, Valerie, that I have called John Van Hoff, who's the MPP for Timiskaming, and I've offered that if elected, I would lend my voice to that issue. And I do believe as we look at building a trade corridor east to west, that there might be opportunities for not only Highway 11 North, but also Highway 17. And so for further discussion at some point. In closing, I would like to thank Anthony Rota. He's been a tremendous member of Parliament for our riding, and I look forward in 4 years to see the development of our arena with the $25 million that he brought in support of that project, or the $20 million that he brought in support of cleaning up our forever chemical, as we call it, in Trout Lake, or the $10 million in support of housing for our city. And so basically, I look forward in 4 years to those developments. As a mayor of municipality of East Ferris, I've also worked at a city level. We are members and are very active as well in all of the organizations, the DSAB, the Health Unit, Castle Home. We are members of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. So basically, you are exposed to all of the issues that not only occur in your municipality, but in all the other communities in your riding. I have worked in Ottawa twice. I'm familiar with the issues from an Ottawa perspective. I was awarded a medal by the University of Ottawa for my leadership in Canadian business. And so, je viens d'ici, je suis francophone, and I've worked across our riding in Sudbury and Timmins and North Bay, and so I'm very familiar with all of the issues of our riding. And so very much, I believe it is essential to have a very strong central government. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. The world, as I've said, has changed in 4 or 5 months with the arrival of Donald Trump. And it's all a matter of how we go forward from this point on. And that for me is Mark Carney. He is in the middle. He's the one that's able to unite the left. He's the one that's able to unite the right so that we can move forward and address some of the big issues that have been mentioned that we need to work on, these nation-building projects. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you, Pauline Rochefort. Thank you, Val Kennedy. Thank you, Gary Keller. It has been a very quality debate with important issues addressed throughout this hour. We invite you to watch it again on our YouTube channel. And a reminder that voting day is Monday, April 29th in the Eastern Time Zone.
28th.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yes, it is April 28th. I was thinking the 29th because polls are open 9:30 to 9:30, 12 hours, April 28th. Get out and vote. Thank you for watching.